The RONIN is my kind of vagabond. In this game, I'll take you through strategies I'm using against the hard AI, and I'll also look at some of the interesting new options with the Exiles and Partisans deck. This is Legendary Tactics. Alright, so there are some really new and interesting options available with the Exiles and Partisans deck, so I'll check those out today along with the RONIN. I've played this in my second game with the RONIN. The first game I won as well. It was a little closer margin, which is fine if the game were more interesting, but it wasn't particularly interesting. So something I haven't mentioned in previous videos is that these opening draws, the Master Engraver's card, the Marine Broker, and the Swap Meet can add an interesting decision here, because if I had chosen a character who could get right out of the gates with some building power, the Adventurer might be a really good option here. I could actually have a game focused completely on crafting and card cycling, but because I came in with the intention of playing the RONIN, I do go ahead and choose the RONIN here. But the Harrier is one that I really want to get to soon. That video will come out soon, and I'll link to the Adventurer above. I've covered that video already and showed some ways to win there. So this is my usual starting place, and it offers lots of opportunities, but generally early in the game, all I'm looking to do is get to those treasure chests and start to see what random options I get, because that will change the outcome of the game. Now, I always use the hard AI as a benchmark for how well I'm doing, but what I do find is that the games vary considerably based on who your opponents are and based on the moves you do. So for those of you who say, you know, oh wow, these are dumb AIs, yes, they are very dumb in many ways. If you have a very particular strategy, they don't see that strategy and they don't counter it. But in terms of general play, you still have three opponents all working towards their own objectives. And while they don't really become cognizant of your goals, they certainly do make a beeline for their own. And so in that sense, when you're playing the AI, I find that you become the one, you're almost like the governor that allows certain players to move ahead and other players to fall backward. So in that sense, you actually have to manage them rather than them managing you. And so right away, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from the Woodland Alliance here. Number one, I'm going to trade with him, and then I'm going to stab him in the back because I want that teapot. But I also don't like that he's got 4 points on the first turn before I've even entered the game yet. So you really need to make sure the Woodland Alliance doesn't get out of control. And I'm the player to do that as the Vagabond. If I can get my hands on a crossbow, then you can go in and pick off his paltry forces. They're few, but they're mighty. And so you can pick them off, take out his infrastructure, and when you kill his fortresses, that really hurts him. So also just stalling him out by killing off those little sympathy guys can really help. But I sometimes like to use the marquise to do that as well. So he did my dirty work for me. I was planning on doing that. So I'll go wipe out this other one. We'll work together here for a moment. But first I'll be kind to him. Now, these three cards, as I mentioned earlier, the Master Engraver, basically if anytime I craft, that would give me +1 points. So that could be really awesome. But as you can see, I have no hammers, so I'm not going to be crafting for a little while here. And the problem is it's not really up to me when I get that, because I either need to draw the card or someone else needs to craft it and I need to trade for it. So that's not a strategy that's within my control, so that's why I'm getting rid of that card. So I'll pick him off, just slow him down a little bit. Maybe the Marquise will get enough warriors up that it'll prevent the spread of the Woodland Alliance. So, ooh, hello. Okay, so that was me giving a card away, which isn't great early game. I mean, 3 points, I'm on the board here. But the second card there was the Marine Broker. And that's whenever another player crafts a card, then I get to draw a card. Oh, and you should always check your quests early, see what we've got. I do find they can sometimes be a distraction, and I'm not a heavy quester. My apologies out there to those who do like to quest, because I think it's a supplemental way to get an extra point here and there if you need one to get yourself over the victory line. But as a focal strategy, I mean, if you want to do that, take the Adventurer and focus on it. But it just feels to me like when I play this game, I like to have fun with the characters, and I'm not just necessarily about win at all costs. I like to enjoy the way I win too. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I don't have a lot of fun questing because it just feels like I'm off doing my own thing, like talking to nobody in the woods and doing these ridiculous quests that nobody knows about. So I'm much more militant in my approach. I find you can get a lot of points, especially if you let the Marquise build up a bit of infrastructure, and when he becomes a threat, or she becomes a threat, you can actually go in and pick them off and take that infrastructure and score a whole whack of points all at once, and also actually sometimes get some favorable trades before you do that. But generally, I never find with the Vagabond that movement is a problem, because you're guaranteed to move at least one clearing every turn, which generally, if you plan well, any single clearing that you go to will offer you something that you need. And it may be 2 turns until you get exactly what you want, but in the meantime, you can get a supplementary or a tertiary goal that will assist you. The other card there in my hand is the swap meet, and that's you take a card from someone and you give them a card. So this Exiles and Partisans deck is interesting. Ooh, there's the crossbow I really wanted. So that was actually a focal point for me there, was to get into the fox clearing so I could build that, because that just improves my power so much. If I can pick off a unit, and then often there's only 1 or 2 units left, and you can often wipe them out quickly. One downside that I'm seeing... sorry, back to my previous point. So the swap meet, you take a card from someone and you give them a card. Now, you don't know what card you're going to get, but you do know what card you're going to give away. So this is actually fairly useful if you want to cycle cards. If you have a card that you know you can't craft for a little while, or you have a card that's not particularly useful, or you have a card that you know won't benefit that other player very much, then why not cycle and see what you can get? You might actually disrupt something that they were hoping to do. So that's actually a pretty cool card at a low cost. All right, I love seeing any kind of building here. Another sack. I don't need it just yet, but it's not going to hurt me. And it's also another item that can absorb damage. So if I want to get into a brawl here, it can take damage. Now remember, you don't want to exhaust your sack first, because at this point, if I exhaust a sack, it's not a big deal, but if I exhaust 2 of them, then you start to lose those spaces, and it actually takes up a space. So it's almost like exponential loss, because not only do you lose space, but you also then fill up space holding the broken sack. So not a good idea. But do I enjoy the Ronin's ability? Okay, so here's the downside I'm seeing to it. Well, as a person who loves combat and someone who generally gets their victories through a militaristic approach and by targeting key opponents, I like the concept of the Swift Strike, because you can exhaust a sword to deal an extra hit. So that's pretty potent, because you can deal damage and inflict it when you need it and score those extra couple of points if you need an extra building taken out. And that's pretty cool. So here's a great example. So I can... what am I going to want to do here? Take this guy out? Or maybe I want to... What does he have? He has a boot for me. So I'll trade him first. Now, I don't love giving away the wild bird cards to these guys, but in the end, as long as I get what I need out of it, which in this case is another boot that can absorb damage, there's another sack on the board. So I basically want to start collecting as many items as I can to get my kit up to full strength. So I'll do the old trade and kill. I know I'm cruel and heartless. This exposes all of his buildings to some easy point steals. Wipes out his infrastructure, slows him down indefinitely. That's really helpful to me. So a cool 4 points there does the trick. And so yeah, I'm looking at some of those cards down there. The sword, that is something that's really good. So back to my point about the Ronin, he is a character who relies heavily on swords, because you can't exhaust a sword that you don't have. And as I've mentioned previously, sometimes you don't get to control what weapons you get as the Vagabond. It tends to be, there's ways to increase your chances of getting what you need. For example, opening a chest increases my odds. Now, if there's the sword, okay, that's perfect. So that's exactly what I need. I need to get to the Woodland Alliance and get that sack too, now that my inventory's full. But it's good to have the option now to be able to use my power, but you notice that most of the players in the game are already close to 10 points before I got my second sword. So if there's no swords in the game, it's gonna be a problem. Now this Eyrie is actually helping out because being able to refresh a lot of items is also really critical to the Vagabond. So he's playing into my hand right there, and some of you might scoff at him for doing that. But remember, he's looking to get his own benefits out of this as well. So 4 points there for him. He's up to 11 points, so we need to start taking the Eyrie seriously. The Woodland has been stalled. The Marquise has been stalled. And as I have mentioned in some of my other videos, my target against the hard AI to know if I'm doing particularly well is to keep all of them to less than 20 points. And I absolutely don't want anybody to hit 25 points because that means they're one turn away from winning. If they're at 20 points, then it's at least 2 turns away. And if it's less than 20, then I've absolutely destroyed them. So I just like to maximize the efficiency of my turns so that all of my opponents are minimized. And that's part of the strategy of keeping them down selectively. You can see I'm not friendly with the Marquise here, but I haven't actually angered the other 2 factions yet. So that may need to change because I'm only at 11 points. And I need to start upping my game here and pulling ahead. Now remember, the Vagabond is a later game surge, of course, because you need to build that toolkit out. You need to start to amass the weaponry and the options that you need. This is a hard choice here, so I'm going to help him and get the sack. That's a no-brainer. But here my question for you is, who do you attack? Do you think the Eyrie is more of a threat here, or do you think the Woodland Alliance is more of a threat? And this is where, add your thought in the comment, because I'm struggling. You can see I'm pausing a little bit, thinking about where I'm going to go, who I'm going to hit, because the Eyrie can get out of control, and before you know it, they're a real problem. So I'm just checking out his decree here. Okay, so he's got lots of wild cards, nothing in the battle decree, so he can't actually fight yet. But he's still really flexible. He just moves around a lot and recruits a lot, right? But I think I'm going to target him for now because he's over that 10-point margin. If I can inconvenience him... Now, remember, ironically, in destroying the Eyrie infrastructure, like a building like this, you can't actually help them because then that provides them another space to build in, which may actually help them fulfill their decree. So just be cautious about which buildings you destroy and if you're actually helping them or hindering them. I think the way to killing him will be to not have the ability to recruit in a particular clearing. So I'll be looking for ways to do that. Now I'm hoping I can take this guy out as well. If you can't decide on which one to take out, just take them both out, right? Oh, great. Okay. So we've got a little bit of counter guerrilla tactic action there. So I didn't get that sympathy, which was my ultimate goal there. But let's hope he doesn't build a fortress. He might build it right there. Yes, okay. That's good, so I can let him take out the Marquise. They're all fairly balanced. Now, remember too with the Eyrie that while he's at 11 points, and that may seem like he's starting to advance rather quickly, remember that with all those wild bird cards, if he goes down, then he goes down hard and he's going to lose some points. So even if he gets up to 22, 23 points, then he may drop back to like 17, 18 points. So that score can be a little bit deceptive too, because he needs to run the full gauntlet in order to keep those points. They're not really permanent points. Okay, so I'm just looking at ways I can defeat his decree. Wow, he's really tenacious. He really wants to take me out here. I'm not completely disappointed in this. It does mean I'm gonna take some damage. Oh, what do you damage here? Can't be the hammer because then you can't rebuild the undamaged things. The torch I'm mostly done with except for quests. It can't be the sacks. I like to refresh my items. I think it's gotta be the torch, and then I just repair it. Let me know if you think that was the right play there. I haven't played extensively in recent memory. It's been a little while since I've played Root, and it's really nice to come back to it. But that's the problem with being a content creator, is that you find these games that you absolutely love, the gems, and Root is one that stands out above all the other games. Root and Wingspan, I would say, are the two that really shine. I mean, the classic game that I, of course, cover is Diplomacy, and I love that game, but Root is one that I'm never sad to come back to. But with content creation, there's always new games coming out and new videos you want to make, and so it's sometimes hard to come back to these games and just enjoy them. But if you're here and you've listened this long, then you obviously like Root as much as I do, and you can understand and appreciate sometimes you take a little break, but boy, is it ever cool to come back to this game. Okay, so if I get into this location, there's the area has a bit of a weak defense here, so I might be able to chisel through. I'm getting really injured. I'm wondering too if I might have actually been better off to spend the night in the woods. As you may know, I don't like ever spending a night in the woods. No one does, I don't think. Oh, is it worth? Should I pick them off, or should I start doing a quest here? Huh. I'm at a bit of a crossroads here. I really am. I could use card draw. I think the point will be more valuable in the long run. We're sort of at the mid-game stage. And do I attack someone? I get nothing in trade. Huh. This feels like a wasted turn. I think I should have probably spent that in the woods. Because here, if I start to take more damage, I can attack someone, but I'm going to start losing. Maybe I should just do it and then spend the next turn in the woods. This is a little bit of a puzzle here. What do we have? 15 points for the Eyrie. Okay, I'm just going to play it safe for now, not sustain too much damage. We'll see how we do here. If the Eyrie keeps being a pest and trying to get revenge on me for taking out his roost, then we may need to change things up. Okay. That fortress up there might be worth taking out too, because the Woodland Alliance can do a deceptive come from behind once they get dug in. You really don't want to see too many of their troops on the board. The box steel, okay. Alright, so his decree is about to fall, I would say. He's got a couple specific recruit needs, and how's he doing on troops? He's probably got quite a few on the board now, so. But he's got that sword, which is pretty critical to the Ronin. He's coming after me. Okay, alright. That's how it is, Eyrie. Yes, of course I'm gonna deal an extra hit. Are you kidding me? I don't care what it costs me. You're going down, buddy. Oh boy. There goes my torch again. I'm gonna make him pay for his insolence. This is getting personal. This is past strategy. Who cares about strategy now? He's just getting mean. Not sure what he's... I guess he just has to fulfill an attack. And he feels like I'm the weakest one. Forget it. I'm gonna make him suffer. Alright. Crossbow it is. I'll just rebuild that. So this is making me, I'm looking at all those X's across the top, I'm looking at all my potential, and looking at where the scores are. He's at 20, so he's just crossed the mark that I don't like my opponents to ever cross. But I think I have to spend a night in the woods and come out guns a-blazing. I can't sustain a big fight, and at 16 points, I'm only halfway to victory, so this does not look good for me right now. This will take some crafty play in order to get what I need. Now, do I take out the roost next turn? Okay, well, let's just, I don't even know why I'm building here. It makes no sense because it's just going to get refreshed in the night anyways, but oh well, it's fun. Okay, so I hate doing that so much, but I feel like the Eyrie won't win this turn. And if I can come out strong, then I can knock him back. He may even default this turn without me intervening at all. And then that puts him back in a reasonable place. Actually, if he defaults, that puts him back to about my score. And then it's an even ball game, except I have a much stronger end game than him. So this should work out just fine for me. But it is a delicate game of balance, that's for sure. So interesting that I'm not focusing so much on the powers of the cards. Now, one card that I got in a previous game that I think there was a glitch. They may have updated it. It was a card called False Orders. And with that, oh, I love that card with the Vagabond because you can send half of the troops rounded up from one clearing to another clearing. And so what you do is you come in just somewhere where you're going to take out their infrastructure, move all of the, like half the guys out, pick off one with your crossbow, and then just wipe things out, and they'll never see it coming. This would work really well against human players too. So, okay, so that's really good. So now we've got the a fair balance here. 17 Woodland Alliance, 17 for the Eyrie, 14 for the Marquise. The Marquise hasn't really ever gotten going here. And he's just feeding cards to the Woodland Alliance for no real reason there. Yeah, that was a bit of a okay. Guess he wants to get buildings kind of tucked in behind the roost. He's being overshadowed, both in points and in structures. Okay, so where can we... So we've got Marquise has a sword. I think I can actually wipe him out fairly quickly. And there's my False Orders card. Okay, so this is the card I've been wanting to show you because it's a lot of fun. And so you become the player who controls the units of the other factions. So that's really cool. Wipe him out. Okay. Do I need to trade? Yes, I do. Do the old trade and stab. Yeah, as ever, boots, I find them, maybe let me know in the comments if you think I undervalue boots, but I tend to use them just as my armor. I throw my boots at the opponents when they attack me and they get hit in the face with them and chop them up, but... so here, this was a mistake. Because the score got flipped around, I was thinking I rolled a 3, so I thought, oh, I've wiped him out. I should have done the extra hit there because it didn't take out his base. So that was just a bit of boneheadedness on my part. But got my 2 points out of that. So unfortunately, I had to attack again. But I guess it's a bit of a wash because I would have had to exhaust the sword anyways. So you know what? I guess on par, on balance, it's not a big deal. It just makes me look stupid. Okay, so who needs a little taste of the Ronin steel? The Eyrie? You know what? An extra sack? Sure, I can use one of those now. An extra victory point puts me at 22. So I'm getting now where once I'm over 20, I start to think about how I'm going to finish the game. Especially I've got all 3 of them still under 20, which is what I like to see. Keeping them there will be a challenge because they're all so close. So this is not good. Yeah, if you have any other personal goals that you like when you play, do let me know. I'm curious if there's any other kind of personal challenges that you add to make this harder for yourself. You know, just little house rules or things that keep you interested, because I think just winning the game as the only goal isn't quite enough for me. I like to win by a margin, or force myself to play as a new character, or force myself just different individual challenges, like can I do this by questing, or well, with the Ronin I think battling is the way to go. I'm looking forward to trying the Harrier too. That should be fun. I notice coins right off the hop, so there's going to be lots of card draw there, which potentially could lead to better crafting. I'll have to work that one out. Okay, so the Eyrie is at 20 points, but maybe we can knock him back. Feels good to have a full toolkit and lots of options. Alright, so this is the stage of the game where I'm starting to examine the board and I'm looking for my path to victory. So we've got down at the bottom, I see some marquees, lightly defended infrastructure. I've got false claim in, or false orders, sorry. I can play that card at some point. I'm going to pass on it for now because I won't maximize value. There's only 2 points in that sawmill there. Let's see, so it's not even really worth attacking in this square, so I think this one and the next one over is where I'll get the victory. Just whittle him down a little bit, and I can afford to take some damage at this point. I'm not going to be spending another night in the woods, but I've got boots to spare. Oh, heck yeah. So we'll just throw a bunch of boots at him. Does some decent damage. Just makes him harder. He'll probably end up splitting. I mean, a human player might decide to split that 5 and reinforce. Either way, I'm just going to look for the weak spot in his defenses. And this is where it's really hard to play as a Marquise. You get to 18 points, and then everybody just starts using you as a punching bag. So it's an easy way to score some points. Yeah, like I really wouldn't pull that many points off the Eyrie. Woodland Alliance, possibly, but it's a little bit more costly to get there. So I'm comfortably in the lead at 25. None of these factions are going to score 10 points this turn. That would take a miracle. So we'll just see how high they get. Oh, 22 points. I don't like seeing them up that high, but it's okay. The problem was they were all surging at different times. I mean, the Marquise has just been steadily improving, but the other two have just been sort of back and forth. I've had to knock them back, keep them in check. There hasn't been a runaway leader. But at least the Eyrie's been playing competently. So that's nice to see. Ooh, an ambush card. Okay. Now, the other thing I think I can do here is I've got the swords, so I could pull out a quest for 1 point, destroy a couple buildings. You know what? I might want to actually save a boot to slide to the next door clearing, and we'll see how the Marquise reallocates his forces. Oh, so he's making that really tempting now. We'll see what he does for defenses there. I call him a he, but the Marquise is a woman. And I know it's not pronounced Marquis. That would be, if it's a man, it would be the Marquis. Duh. But since it's the feminine form, that is indeed Marquise de Cat. Okay, so I've got 3 there, 2 there. I can pick up the sword if I come over here from the Eyrie, trade a couple cards away. I don't need them if I'm going to win the game, so that would make a lot of sense here. And I can send those troops away, so she is in big trouble here. Alright. Bye-bye, boots. You know, just to play it smart, I should probably not give away all my boots, so I could get to that other clearing, take it out. But, what the heck. Let's make it exciting. Wow, these swords, man, I could have used these earlier in the game to surge a quicker victory. 2 of my opponents have squeaked over 20 points. Alright, let's see what we do here. Wipe him out first. Keep calling her a him, not sure why. Oh, the ambush. Okay, that's alright. Couple of boots. They're exhausted already, so it doesn't matter. I should exhaust another sword. That sucks that I had to use that sword rather than the die roll to make that happen. don't have enough movement to get over there. But that's okay. I can just quest. You just have so many options in the late game here that you know you're bound to have at least one quest. In this case, 2 quests. The double swords will do it. That's a victory. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any other thoughts on strategy for playing the Ronin, please include them in the comments, and appreciate you checking out Legendary Tactics.